Can we get a 5x5 in the chat? Can you hear us? Can you see us? We'll do a quick check here and we'll get underway. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the launch pad. Give us a quick 5x5 in the chat if you can hear and see us all right. I'm seeing 5x5s coming in there. Thank you so much, Asher, Richard, John. Thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome here to Starbase, Texas. We are just outside the main gate of the Starship orbital launch facility as we are watching SpaceX crews prepare the flight termination system for the inaugural Starship integrated flight test. If it's your first time here, welcome. My name's Zach. I'm the founder and host here at TLP, and I'm joined by Dakota and Kevin, and we're here on site to give you a live look at the orbital launch pad as final preparations for the hopefully final full stack of Booster 7 and Ship 24 are underway. We're going to be answering your guys' questions, aiming the camera at what you guys want to see throughout the day, so make sure you're letting us know about that in the chat. If you haven't yet, though, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream. It really does help us out, and we're glad to have you here. You're probably not going to see me on stream all day because we want to be able to give you the largest screen space to be able to see what is actually happening. You are looking currently at the side of Booster 7, where that team has been up for a number of hours working on the flight termination system ahead of the final full stack. We were watching a crew up on the side of Ship 24. They just came down and are doing some other work, possibly a break, but we'll be staying out here for a number of hours, and we're glad to have you joining us live here today. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we will work on answering those. If any of you are coming out to Starbase and coming down for a drive to come visit, definitely take a moment, come stop by, say hi. You probably can't miss us. We got the Starlink on top of the car, and we'll be glad to see you guys and have you here on site. See a couple people asking, can we see inside the orbital launch mount? Can we try to see the elevator? For those that don't know, it does look like last night there was a rather large failure of the orbital launch tower's elevator where the counterweight actually snapped and plummeted to the bottom of the tower. So at this time, for them to get people up and down the tower, they are using one of these cherry pickers to take them all the way up to the quick disconnect arm. Let's see if we can adjust this in real time here. We'll zoom out. And over, you can see there is a crew currently coming down from the orbital tower. This is how they are getting their crews up and down due to the failure of the elevator system. We haven't heard much more about the cause of that or how they hope they're going to be able to repair it, but we did hear that one person was actually stuck up top on the tower last night when the elevator ultimately had its moment. But we'll be zooming in, showing you guys what you want to see, give you a quick look out at the full wide shot where we're positioned just outside the main gate. Only reason we've been able to do this is thanks to your guys' generous support, so we do really appreciate you guys helping us to continue our mission of informing and inspiring the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together. If you'd like to help us do so, you can consider becoming a TLP member. We'll be putting out some member-only videos from behind the scenes of our coverage of the countdown to launch. We're glad to have you all here with us. If it's your first time here, take a moment, make sure you subscribe as well so you never miss another live launch coverage, docking, undocking, or return to Earth. We'll be live throughout the weekend, continuing our 24/7 countdown to launch coverage of Starship. If you guys have questions, make sure you're just tagging us at the launch pad. It'll help us see those questions coming in the chat. If you do see the stream buffer at all, we are running exclusively on Starlink, powered by a Starlink here. So we're glad to be able to bring this view to you through a system that Starship that's going to be its first cargo, is launching the next generation of the Starlink satellites. Not on this flight, but hopefully by the end of the year. We got a question coming in from Bartholomew. Will Starship be landing using Mechazilla Tower during the test? So we've learned more about that with the launch, with the release of the FAA launch license. We will not be having a catch attempt this launch. We will be seeing, in the future though, we'll be seeing catch attempts, but we have had confirmation we will not be seeing that over the next 3 launches. They have said to the FAA that the next 2 are going to be expendable ships, and boosters will be sent into the Gulf of Mexico. Take a look in, see what the crew's working over by the booster's quick disconnect. Base of the booster there.
That's 24. The launch pad 24.
Wow. Morning, Joe. Good to see you. If you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view of the orbital launch pad where the teams are preparing Ship 24 and Booster 7 for the first ever integrated flight test. Bear with me as we adjust the camera here again. That crew is going to be heading right up here on the side of the ship. So we'll take a closer look at that for you guys. Anything specific you guys want to see, definitely let us know. We can try to accommodate that, give you a view of that. Lots of activity. First real activity we've seen in a number of days. We've been out here for a week and it's been rather quiet, but now that we have that launch license, things are picking up as we count down to Monday. That is what that countdown is in the top left corner of your screen. That is counting down to the opening of the Monday launch window. 1 day, 21 hours, 16 minutes, 15 seconds, and counting.
The guy in Space and told me about your channel.
Do we have a view of the Raptors? We don't from this angle, but we will be working to get that later. We are, of course, hoping we will see a stack today. Plan is to do a number of these streams today. We'll probably do them, a couple hours at a time, adjust the view, go to a different position. Our current position is somewhere we will have to move from when they do go to actually stack the ship, so we have an idea of where we'll go for that, but we'll be able to take a look underneath the booster here a little bit later. That's awesome, Satch. Awesome. Thanks so much. Marty's asking, how many crew members are going to be aboard the Starship? We don't have a final number. The crazy biggest number is we heard 1,000 for Earth to Earth. We've heard up to 100 for the Moon, and guesses between 24 and 36 for Mars. But that's going to be the maximum. When NASA is using Starship for HLS, they've said they're looking at 2, 4, 7 people at absolute most for the at least early HLS system. So we'll wait and see, but that can always change, as it can hold obviously quite a few people.
But also,
I know. Fam, I hope I'm saying that right. Do you think Starship will succeed like SLS Orion? I hope so. I definitely hope so. This vehicle is really our future, not only for the NASA program, but for other programs as well. So we really do hope that we see it be a success. But we'll have to wait and see how it goes. This is the first integrated test flight. Haven't seen a ship actually fly in almost 2 years, over 2 years now. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But we absolutely over a year, excuse me. But we do certainly hope that it will be successful. But would not be surprised that we do see in the end failures. That is part of what this rapid integration testing is. Asher, is the ship at the FTS box? Yes, they're at the ship's FTS. There's a crew up on the booster, and there's another crew going up somewhere. I'll adjust the camera so we kind of have an idea where they're actually going. It almost looks like they're going to the nose cone. Let's adjust this so you guys can see that. Up. So you can see there are two different crews. Looks like they're moving in on that nose cone there. Morning, Ryan. How's it going? Good to see you. Joe, I'm running 3 computers to watch all the action down there. It's crazy seeing it. Absolutely. There's so much happening. Really into that final bit of the count. Hopefully less than 48 hours until we don't see this booster ship anymore. Scott, Mahi Nick Blackbeard's restaurant. It's a good place to eat if you come to the island. We'll take note of that. We're here for another week, so definitely want to try some local places out. If you do experience any buffering, give it a minute. It could just be a Starlink handover, as we are running the stream exclusively off of Starlink. And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. You're looking at a live view of crews working on Booster 7's flight termination system. You also have another crew currently, looks like inspecting the kind of nose cone part of Ship 24. Keeping an eye on what they're doing. We've got 3 different lifts currently up. We're also keeping an eye on anything that we see being done on the orbital launch tower, as they did have ultimately a failure of the elevator, sending the counterweight crashing down last night. So it does look like they do not have an active elevator system and are using the lift to move crew up and down the actual orbital launch tower itself. If you guys have anything you want to see specifically, let us know. We can work on zooming in, taking a look at that. And if you have questions, you can send that in the chat by tagging us at the Launchpad. Welcome, Vicky. Thanks for becoming a VIP spectator. Appreciate that. Helps us do what we do here. Marty, thanks for answering first question. Second question, I noticed at the countdown that is the test flight. Can you explain actually what this flight is going to do? That is a big question. Dakota and I are going to sit down and do a Q&A maybe later today or tonight. We're still figuring that out, depending what type of activity we see out here at the pad. And in that, we're going to run through everything you can expect during the flight. But basically, the ship will be stacked on top of the booster. Booster will ignite and fly for just under 3 minutes. It will then separate from the ship. The booster will do a boost back burn and do a propulsive soft landing into the Gulf of Mexico. The ship will continue burning its engines, almost getting into orbit before it comes back through reentry over Hawaii, where it will go into the belly flop maneuver, and it will belly flop all the way to the ocean level. When the booster softly splashes down in the Gulf of Mexico, it's expected to fall over. And once it does that, they said they will open the valves to actually basically sink the booster. The ship, when it softly-ish splashes down after it has belly flopped, they do expect an explosion, which ultimately will corrupt the device and it will sink itself as well. Again, if you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those live for you. Also, if you haven't yet, take a moment, check out the Launchpad store. Use promo code STARSHIP24. Gets you 24% off absolutely everything in the store. We can't see the Raptor engines from this angle, but we will move to a place where we can see those a little bit later today. Right now, we're keeping an eye on what they're doing at the nose cone of Ship 24 and Booster 7. Flow countdowns in the top left corner of your screen there. Michael saying not much of a flight, why not try to orbit? This flight is really just to do an integrated flight test. This is not an orbital flight test. That is why it has been renamed Integrated Flight Test. They are not going to try to deploy any cargo or payloads. This is just to prove that the booster and the ship can clear the pad, hopefully make it through max Q, then try to get through MECO, stage separation and second ignition, and then see how the ship performs during reentry. This is just a proof of concept flight, basically, more than an actual orbital test. Austin, will the launch be visible from Houston? What's the land visibility? We are trying to work on a visibility map. It really depends on your weather. One of the biggest things with Starship is it will not have a contrail like you're used to seeing with SLS or other vehicles like that because of its engines. It also is going to have a blue flame rather than an orange flame. So it is going to be different in that sense. But we're trying to work on a visibility map for you guys, as well as a sound map for if you are here in the area. If you are here in the area, please keep in mind this will be a very loud launch and bring appropriate earwear for that. My Coral Starship will be burnt during reentry. It will get extremely warm during reentry, and the hope is that those heat tiles that you can see there on the ship will help make that ship survive and actually be able to come all the way through. If you haven't yet, though, take a moment, engage that like button, share out the stream. It really does help us out. You're looking at a live view from the roadside at Starbase, Texas. quick adjustment here for you guys. Really hear the chopsticks cables this morning. There's a super close in view of the crew working on the Booster 7 FTS system. Will this be a remote flight or will they have crew? It will be a test flight, so no crew on board. We won't see crew fly on these for probably a good year or two, depending how these first flights go. Roger saying doubt it flies on a Monday, but would be great. Well, hopefully it flies this week. Everything's lined up. Weather's looking actually really good on Monday, so we are hoping that. The orbital tank farm is fueled and ready to go. The last thing we need to do is see them restack the ship onto the booster, so that we can get into that final bit of the launch campaign. We, of course, will be covering it live from about 5.5 miles away. We'll have live views of the pad, and we'll be providing commentary coverage multiple hours prior to the actual launch, patching in SpaceX's live views as well as our own. We hope you'll join us live for that. Kathia, they absolutely are going to attempt to catch the booster and the ship in the future, but that is not part of the plan for this test flight. We've also had confirmation the next 2 flights, the booster will be splashed down into the Gulf of Mexico, and the next 2 ships will be expendable. They will not have heat shielding or flaps on them. They will be basically just an expendable version of the ship. And we expect those both to fly this year as well. If you guys have questions, make sure you send those in the chat. Take us at the launch pad. We're also zooming in on what you guys want to see. From this side, we can see pretty good view of both the ship and the booster. We will move around a little bit later, take a look underneath Super Heavy, taking a look at the engines. But again, if you guys have questions, send those in the chat, taking us at the launch pad. Paul's asking, what speed is expected for the test flight? Will the ship reach 27,000 kilometers an hour orbital speed? No. It will not actually reach orbital velocity. It's going to fall just short of it, as it's going to come back down over Hawaii for re-entry, about 200 miles north of Hawaii. And no, it will not make a full trip. Not this time. That's a future flight. Are there fighters nearby? I'm assuming you mean firefighters. They do have emergency teams on site, should they be needed. They also have partnerships with Brownsville Fire Department, should they need them, but take a look. They are working on the looks like the examining the chopsticks' hinge system over here. Pulley system. They took a look at the top of the nose cone of Starship, and now they're looking at the chopsticks pulley here. Noah, thank you so much for that super chat. Really appreciate the support. And that is correct, Patrick. Inside that 3-mile zone, 180 decibels possible, and that is for a nominal flight. It is going to be very loud. Don't believe it's completely 180. I think that's a little bit closer, but we are expecting between 100 and 110 decibels about 5 miles away. So it is going to be quite loud. Dan, is there payload? No payload on this flight. Just trying to proof of concept. James, thanks so much for your super chat. If the booster is scuttled, will third parties have salvage rights? We're still confirming where exactly it's going to splash down, but if it were in international waters or there's different regulations on what waters they can retrieve it in, technically, yes. That would be possible. So if anyone's got a ship and a really big winch, you could go try to salvage one of those 33 booster engines. Trying to figure out why the phone is making that sound. Bear with us, guys. Shouldn't be, but it is. Can we see the stop stabilizer pens? Absolutely. Let's take a look over towards those. There you go. Just that white balance a little for you. Another nitrogen truck arriving. See some questions asking about, can we see crew on the elevator? We are keeping an eye on it. We don't see anyone working on the elevator at this exact point, but I've been keeping my eye on it. For those that are wondering about the elevator, last night the elevator had a failure. The counterweight of the elevator came plummeting, sparking down the length of the tower, actually stranded at least one employee up the tower. So they've been using these big white lifts to actually take their crews up and down the orbital launch tower this morning. Thank you so much, Spike's Trailer Park, for becoming a general supporter. Appreciate that. Patrick's asking, is the T0 for the actual launch time or when the launch window closes? That is for the opening of the launch window, which is what they're currently targeting. We will sync that with SpaceX's clocks as we get closer to it, but that is the opening of the launch window in the top left corner of your screen. Take a quick pause again from looking here. Another nitrogen truck doing a delivery here this morning. I don't know. Taking a look back towards the booster, it's where crews were working on the flight termination system. That looks like that cover has been reinstalled to me. We'll keep a close eye, see if they send another team up there. We're keeping an eye on the crew that's currently working on S-24 as well. But a good sign if we see that cover installed back on the Booster 7. Because really they were just arming both of these systems. They are both digital systems, that's how they're engaged. So that does look closed to me. If you're just joining us, welcome. You're looking at live view zoomed in on the flight termination system hatch on Booster 7. I'll move back here in just a moment, back to the ship's FTS. And yes, FTS means Flight Termination System. Bartholomew, will we hear from Elon between now and then? I'm sure he'll tweet some stuff, but I don't expect any official statements from him until probably right before launch, or following, or during, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some tweets from him during the flight. Someone asking what the flight termination system is. That is used in case the booster and or ship go off course, or they lose control of them. They start turning and aiming to where a place they're not supposed to go. So they can activate the flight termination system, and basically what that does is it tears a hole in the side of the propellant tanks, which ultimately leads to an explosion and destruction of the vehicle. It's a way that all rockets have them. That way, if a rocket veers off course, it doesn't aim to a civilian area, buildings, anything like that. But we are watching them arm flight termination system on the world's largest and most powerful rocket in history. You can also see behind the crew working on S-24, that is the booster quick disconnect. It's where the booster receives its propellants and data lines. You can see the big door above it, that'll come slamming down during the ignition sequence. take 30 seconds, check out where everyone's watching from. Let us know in the chat. Now we got people all over the world. So you can take a moment, let us know where in the world you are watching from today. And just give us 1 second there. We're going to do a battery hot swap on the camera. And do a quick commentary break there. If you guys have any questions, you can send those in the chat by tagging us at the launch pad, and we'll work on answering those live over the next little bit. Just make sure you're tagging us there. You're looking at a live view of the crews working on ship S-24 and its flight termination system. The crew that was working on booster 7 earlier has been lowered, and there's only that last crew working. Hopefully a good sign. The booster's FTS looks all sealed up, so we are hoping that means booster 7's FTS is complete, and we'll be awaiting for them to complete ship 24's. If it's your first time here, though, welcome. Here at the launch pad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, because we believe that space is better together, and we're glad to have you here with us. Make sure you take a moment and subscribe so you can join us for our live launch coverage. Take a quick zoom out. Give you an idea what we're looking at. So, ship 24 next to booster 7. In the chopsticks, basically ready to go. Hopefully we will see a stack later today. Yeah, it's a really great zoom, Deadly Claws. We're really happy with it. Gives us a lot of functionality, getting the zoom in for you guys to see what you want to see. I know earlier people were wondering if ship 24 is actually set up. So you can take a look here at the base of the chopsticks. Whoop. Quick adjust on our exposure. There you can see that is the stabilizer arm attached to ship 24. So they are basically ready to lift the ship once they complete that flight termination system. Take a look up towards the quick disconnect here. Let's see. Disconnect's work platforms have both been retracted, it looks like, I believe. At least partially. So that's another good sign. We'll want to watch for that to swing back, as that does have to be swung out of the way prior to the lift being able to occur. Yeah, both are retracted there. We don't see anyone actually on the quick disconnect. We haven't seen really anyone on the tower. We saw one lift go up earlier. with a bunch of people. Looked like a couple got off, but we haven't seen much activity. Trying to see if I can spot anyone actually on the tower at this point. Are we able to see Hoppy from our position? Let's answer that with the video camera. There's Hoppy. There's a Kevin. That's a Hoppy. Good old Star Hopper, keeping an eye out.
Now Hoppy was a lot bigger than I thought. Should we show him for scale?
Sure.
Alright, I'll run over there.
Dakota's gonna run over for scale. So if you know how big Dakota is, don't. That's good enough. That's Hoppy. Keeping an eye on the work on that FTS there. We got another nitrogen truck arriving. That's the second one today. Thankfully, he's not parking right in front of us. See that work continuing on the ship's FTS. Not much else activity on the tower or the orbital launch mount. Is the FTS done yet? So the FTS on the booster appears to be done. The teams are still working on S-24s. But they've been up there yesterday and most of today, so that should be wrapping up here in the near future, we would assume. The pad's been empty all day, so we haven't seen anybody out working on the pad itself. It's been rather quiet, other than the two crews working on the FTS and the other crew in the lift taking crew up the tower. I've not seen all that much other activity. Trying to zoom in there just to see if the shield is on. Don't want to super zoom in on the employees, but just trying to see if they've actually covered the FTS just yet or not. So bear with me here as we wiggle this around a little bit. No, it's hard to tell on this angle, so we'll keep an eye. We'll see if that lift comes down. That'll be a good sign. If there's anything you guys want to see specifically, take a moment, let us know in the chat. We'll zoom in and out, taking a look at what you guys want to see on the tower, the booster, or the ship. We're going to go to a different position a little later, and that's where we'll be able to look in under the engines, and we'll take a look there. Question coming in about what type of payload Starship can carry. Well, it's really the options are limitless as long as it fits the weight and you're able to build kind of a payload configuration, make sure it's stable inside the Starship. You got a lot of options that you could use, especially if you go onto an expendable mission. So really limitless options there. I'm excited to see what like telescopes and deep space probes and stuff that we start to build. Launch these out on, expendable trajectories and just shoot them out and see what data we can get. Question coming in, could James Webb fit in it? Absolutely. You could actually fit the next generation that's coming after James Webb, called LeVoir, LeVoir A and B. They would only be able to be launched aboard a Starship or possibly a next generation SLS, but definitely looks like those would be Starship vehicles. Those are not expected till 2040 and will be a larger version of the James Webb Space Telescope. But yes, James Webb could fit in. You could fit probably about 2 of them actually in there. Quick adjustment here, folks. Aren's asking, does the orbital launch tower have stairs? I believe it does. I believe it had to have stairs when it was installed. Well, I'm not sure if it's stairs or a ladder, but there is definitely a way of doing it, but it's just easier to take people up and down on lifts until they can repair the elevator. Still keeping a close eye on that S-24 flight termination system. That's going to be the big thing we're watching to be completed here today. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Took a quick commentary break there. Talked to some people out here on the streets. If it's your first time here, welcome. You're looking at a live view of SpaceX crews working on Ship 24's flight termination system. Wrapping up the work there. Booster 7's FTS is complete. And we're waiting to hopefully see a lift here later today. If you guys have questions, you can send those in the chat. Tag us at the launch pad. We'll work on answering those live to the best of our ability.
Pretty exciting.
Mel is asking, do we know anything about if Starship will be escorted into the ocean or how they might do that? Are you meaning when it's doing re-entry, or what are you? I just want to make sure I'm answering your question correctly. If you're meaning through re-entry, they do issue a flight spacing area, so no one can be in that region to make sure that no one gets hit by any debris. red light on. Yeah, so the black half of the ship, that's to survive the engine. Similar to the space shuttle.
Yeah.
That's what they hope to be enough for it to re-enter. And it'll come in similar to shuttle, and then it'll actually tip its nose down and melt it. Basically stall coming straight down out of the sky until it's 1,000 feet, fires its engine, pivots, and then it does. And they've done that twice right here.
Really?
Yeah, they've done it twice. First time it landed, stayed there 8 minutes, and then blew up. And then the second time it landed and shipped 15 in the rocket garden. You'll see it. That one is 12 and a half kilometers. Belly flop, pivoted. That one they're not going to. They're going to keep that one as a module.
So what they're planning on doing is taking stuff into space, bringing the weapons back, or bringing stuff back.
Yeah, so the two biggest ships that there's really about 7 or 8 different types. Same design, but different. But the main two, one will be like this. This one actually has almost a FTS System Preparations. That is so they can fill the Starlink satellites, which is what we're running off of, for the next generation of them. And they'll launch from that. They'll spit those out and ship them back. They just reload it. So back, you can't see it from here, but when you're driving back down, there's going to be a big white building. That's their payload processing. That's full of Starlink right now, ready to go for a ship for them. So later this year, they'll start doing that for other ships. They're not landing on a NASA vehicle. They're landing on this. Wow. So NASA launches them on SLS and Orion. Orion goes to the moon. This will already be there waiting. A NASA version of the space of our building. They'll dock, 2 crew will transfer. Crew will land in Starship, and a bit of time, go back up, transfer back to Orion. Did it die again? One second there. We know where they... I don't know if either of these are charged.
They can hear you still.
I know.
Zach, you want to take a stream break in an hour and then head to Brownsville? Leave 12:30 and get back at 4:02.
Bear with me there. Quick battery swap. There we go. Should be all set there again.
Freeman, are they arming the FTS? So what we have seen, it looks like it already has been armed and set up. I think they're just doing final checkouts on it because they had already sealed it up from what it looked like on our end. So right now it looks like it's more final checkouts. And as always, if you guys have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. If there's anything specific you want us to move the camera over to, please ask. We got you guys. Chris 716. So the mission is a integrated flight test. What they're essentially going to do is they're going to launch from here, scoot between Florida and Cuba, get up into space, and do almost one full loop around the Earth. It's not an orbital trajectory; it's suborbital. So once it gets up into space, separates, and Starship gets going around, it'll fly around and come back, re-enter over the Pacific, and land off the coast of Hawaii.
got any idea when they're supposed to stack?
Hopefully today.
Yeah.
Tonight, I would imagine at the latest, because tomorrow they've got to start doing pre-launch.
Fueling.
Yeah, they've
Yeah.
got to start pressurizing all the way through. We shall see.
What was the question?
And we were out here in 2019 when
And if you guys have any other questions, please keep them coming in the chat. Anywhere else y'all would like us to move the camera angle to, please ask in the chat, and we've got y'all.
It is. Okay, it's not the same.
Oh.
Still dead. Oh.
Randy Treffer, why isn't this going to be in full orbital flight? So the main purpose of this flight is really to test the structural ability of Starship, make sure it's going to be able to handle getting through max Q, ascending up into space, and obviously re-entry, and then also seeing what the overall damage and effect is going to be like on a non-powered splashdown. So both of them are going to essentially be hit in the water engineless. So it's really to see how Starship and Super Heavy are going to react to such a violent interaction with the water. Hey Ginger, it's Dakota here. Zach and I have been loving Texas so far. Be giving some more updates on kind of our adventures and everything in the background, some behind the scenes stuff here shortly too.
Stainless steel. What's your question? I want to say 4mm.
MFG, what kind of metal is the first stage primarily made of? Super Heavy actually uses a 3.8 millimeter thick steel. If you're just joining us, welcome to Starbase here in Boca Chica, Texas. Here at the launch pad, it is our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow because we believe that space is better together. While we're out here at Starbase today, if y'all have any questions, anything that y'all want to see on the launch pad of Starship, Super Heavy, or anything else out here, please drop it in chat and we've got y'all. Jessica Starr, currently we are looking at Super Heavy sitting down there on the orbital launch mount. They're doing some final checkouts on the fuel hood and a few other portions of the lower thing. FTS is armed and sealed as far as we know. So really it's just a matter of checking out or doing final checks on the fuel systems before they go back for full stacking. Randall Smith, yes, it is launching on Monday, tentatively 7 a.m. And James, we are on site. I am standing about 100 and maybe 250 feet away from the outside of the tower. Jeffrey, who fell on the tower last night? No one fell off the tower last night. Very, very, very luckily. All that happened, it seems, is the counterweight snapped from its cable and fell down from the elevator. A couple crew members were stuck up top, but as far as we know, everyone is 110% safe. SpaceX does not play around with safety, so everything is A-okay. Ginger's Cat Show, what time is the launch? What is the time zone? It's going to be in Central, so 7 a.m. Central.
Attention on the orbital pad, loud venting from ship 24 in 4 minutes. Again, loud venting from ship 24 in 4 minutes.
FTS is gone. Crane's gone.
And if you just heard that announcement from SpaceX over the intercoms, there's going to be loud venting from ship 24 very soon. We're going to go ahead and go a little bit wide on the ship and see what we can see while we listen in. James, are there crowds gathering already? We are actually seeing the largest crowds we've seen in about a little over a week we've been out here in Boca Chica. But it's wonderful to see. Anytime that we can get folks interested in space and promote that positive and peaceful future for our species is an exceptional experience. If y'all have any other questions coming in before the venting starts, go ahead and drop it in the chat. We should be looking at venting here in just any minute. AJ Guy, this launch will not have a crewed. We're looking at a couple more years before we see a full crewed Starship. We'll likely see HLS taking crew up before we see a full crewed Starship. MFG, it looks like it's going to be a nitrogen vent, and they do this periodically to let off pressure before they add more nitrogen into it, liquid nitrogen. Amy, are they moving everything away from the pad? They've started moving a couple of the cherry pickers away, but there are two cranes and one cherry picker still around the rocket. Michi Mochi, it is looking like it'll be about 5 p.m. on Monday morning your time when you should be seeing the rocket launch, or at least the stream of it. Randall, we're sorry to hear about that, brother. We are thinking about you though, and unfortunately we're missing Yuri's night as well. So we were hoping to go to the one at Kennedy Space Center this year, but next year, my friend, we will all unite there. A big TLP meetup at Yuri's night KSC right underneath Shuttle Atlantis. Aiden, they said 4 minutes about 5 minutes ago, so I imagine it's going to be about any minute. They do have a cherry picker that is going way up super heavy right now, so it could be just a few minutes after they get out of the area around Starship itself. And as y'all just heard, it's still just a little bit going on. Ship 24 is currently venting. Periodically, they will relieve pressure to prevent the formation of vacuum so that they won't have any kind of an overpressure event or any kind of structural damage while it's awaiting launch. If you're just joining us, welcome to Starbase. Here at the launch pad. Getting ready for the launch of Starship coming up here on Monday. If y'all have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. Please like and share the stream. And of course, if there's anything that we can show y'all today, we'll be out here all day. Please let us know and we'll do our best to get it up on the stream for you. Anything up and down the launch tower, Starship, super heavy, and in between the gates, we'll do our best. David, so last night, the counterweight for the elevator that goes up and down the launch tower, the cable snapped and it fell almost the full length of the tower. So what you saw, the sparks at the very end, was a very, very heavy elevator counterweight moving at an unholy speed down that tower. But we're not sure on damage to the launch tower, but if there is, it's negligible because they're still running up and down it right now with the cherry pickers. Amanita, no one last night was injured. It absolutely looked terrifying. We heard from a couple SpaceX employees that were out here this morning. One person got stuck up at the top of the tower. They were able to get him down pretty quick. A few crew were stuck at about the center point of the tower, but everyone was 110% safe. Dog Boy, he got stuck up at the top because when the counterweight broke, the elevator was no longer functional. So they had no way of getting him up and down except by using the cherry pickers and the cranes. Go ahead and zoom in on the crew working on Starship Super Heavy booster real quick. So we're going up there. If y'all have any questions, keep them coming in the chat. Any specific locations on the tower or on the rocket you want to see, go ahead and ask, and we'll move the camera on over.